The massive Draxian warship glided through the darkness of space, its curved hull reflecting the distant starlight. Inside the command center, Supreme Commander Vexillar stood with his forearms clasped behind his back, yellow eyes fixed on the holographic display of a small blue planet. "Earth," he said, the word sounding harsh in the Draxian tongue. "The intelligence reports call it unaligned and technologically primitive." Intelligence Officer Kulzar stepped forward, his gray skin contrasting with the bright lights of the bridge. "Yes, Commander. Our scans confirm they have no planetary shield system, no significant space-based weapons, and their ships can barely reach their own moon." The room fell silent as the senior officers studied the rotating image of Earth. The Draxian hegemony had conquered 12 star systems in the past decade. Their expansion was swift and brutal, leaving broken civilizations in their wake. Now they needed new resources, new territories, and Earth looked like the perfect target. "What puzzles me," said Klazar, touching the display to zoom in on the planet, "is why no other spacefaring race has claimed this world. The records show at least 6 advanced civilizations have surveyed Earth in the past 1,000 years. None attempted colonization." Vexillar made a dismissive gesture with his lower right hand. "Superstition and fear of the unknown. Nothing more." "Perhaps," said Captain Murak, speaking for the first time. He was younger than the others, his facial ridges not yet fully hardened with age. "But I've heard stories throughout my career, whispers about Earth." "Stories?" Vexlar's voice carried a warning tone. The hegemony did not value hesitation. "Just military gossip, Commander. Tales of ships that approached Earth and never returned, or accounts from the Zeltari traders claiming that Earth is protected by forces we cannot see." Vexillar moved closer, to the hologram, studying the continents and oceans of the blue world. The Zeltari are known for their imagination and their tendency to avoid direct conflict. "We are Draxians. We do not fear stories." He turned to face the dozen officers assembled on the bridge. "Our empire grows hungry. We need the resources this system offers. The preliminary scans show abundant water, minerals, and a climate suitable for our biology. The humans have divided themselves into nearly 200 political entities. They fight among themselves constantly." "The perfect target," said military strategist Drenva, with a nod of her scaled head. "Divided prey is easy. Prey." Klazar manipulated the display, bringing up images captured from Earth's own broadcast signals, cities with tall buildings, roads filled with ground vehicles, humans going about their daily lives, unaware they were being watched. "Their most advanced weapons are nuclear devices and chemical propellants," Klazar explained. "Their communication systems are primitive. They have no unified defense force. By our standards, they are practically defenseless." Vexillar studied the images with growing confidence. "Show me their military capabilities." The display changed to show aircraft carriers, tanks and soldiers with rifles, to the Draxians who possessed energy weapons and ships that could reduce cities to ash from orbit. These looked like children's toys. "Pathetic," muttered one of the junior officers. Captain Murak stepped closer to the display. "Commander, with respect, I must ask again. If Earth is so defenseless, why has no one claimed it? The Grexa Dominion borders this system. They have been expanding for centuries. Why would they ignore such an easy conquest?" Vexillar's patience was wearing thin. Perhaps they deemed these humans too primitive to bother with. Perhaps they had more valuable targets. It doesn't matter. The hegemony needs new worlds, and we have found one. He turned to face his officers directly. "I will authorize a preliminary scouting mission. We will gather final intelligence before launching a full invasion. Captain Murak, since you seem so interested in these humans, you will lead the mission." Murak straightened his posture. "Yes, Commander. I will prepare immediately. Take our most advanced stealth vessel, observe their defenses, study their communication patterns, and identify their leaders. I want to know everything about their response capabilities before we strike." The meeting ended and the officers filed out of the command center. Only Murak and Klazar remained with the Supreme Commander. "You have doubts, Captain?" Vexillar asked once they were alone. Murak chose his words carefully. "Not doubts, Commander. Just questions. The historical record shows strange patterns regarding Earth. Several exploration vessels from different civilizations disappeared in this system over the centuries. Klazar pulled up additional data on his personal device. There are gaps in our intelligence. The Grexa archives mention Earth as being under observation, but provide no explanation for why they never invaded. Vexler waved away their concerns. Old mysteries and incomplete records, nothing more. The facts before us are clear. Earth has resources we need and defenses we can easily overcome. He placed a heavy hand on Murak's shoulder. Go, Captain. Prove your worth to the hegemony. Bring me the information we need for a successful invasion. 3 days later, Captain Murak stood on the bridge of the Shadowclaw, the hegemony's most advanced scout ship. Its stealth systems could evade detection from civilizations far more advanced than humans. The small crew of 15 specialists prepared for departure. Course set for the Sol system, reported Navigator Pelra. Stealth systems at maximum efficiency. Murak took his command seat. Proceed. Maximum speed until we reach the outer boundary of their system, then slow to stealth approach. As the ship pulled away from the fleet, Murak accessed the historical archives on his private terminal. There was something about Earth that bothered him, something beyond the obvious facts. He entered his security clearance and requested all information about previous contacts with Earth. The computer responded immediately. Access restricted. Historical files regarding Earth require Omega-level clearance. Murak frowned. Omega clearance was reserved for the Supreme Commander and the Hegemony Council. Why would records about a primitive planet be so highly classified? He closed the terminal as the Shadowclaw accelerated into hyperspace. Perhaps Vexelar was right. Perhaps all the stories were just rumors and superstition. Earth was just another world waiting to be conquered. But as the ship hurtled toward the Sol system, Murak couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something important. Something that explained why Earth, for all its apparent vulnerability, remained untouched by the galaxy's predators. He would soon find out. The Shadowclaw entered the Sol system silently, its advanced stealth technology making it invisible to Earth's primitive detection systems. Captain Murak ordered the ship to take position behind Earth's moon, using the natural satellite as additional cover. Begin full scan of the planet, Murak commanded. I want to know everything about their defense systems, communication networks, and military installations. For 3 Earth weeks, the Draxians observed. They intercepted television broadcasts, radio signals, and internet communications. They mapped military bases, missile silos, and naval fleets. The more they learned, the more confident they became. The humans are exactly as our intelligence suggested, reported Science Officer Trelna. Technologically primitive and politically divided. They waste resources fighting each other over territory and ideologies. Murak studied the data with careful attention. What about their space capabilities? Minimal, Trelna replied. A small space station with a rotating crew of 6 humans, a handful of satellites for communication and observation. No weapons platforms, no defense grid. Their most advanced propulsion systems use chemical rockets. The captain nodded slowly. By any measure, Earth should be easy to conquer, yet that nagging doubt remained in his mind. On Earth, Lieutenant Susan Warren sat at her monitoring station in a remote listening post in Alaska. For the 3rd time that week, her equipment picked up strange readings, brief energy spikes that didn't match any known pattern. I'm telling you, something's out there, she told her supervisor, Major Alan Frost. Frost sighed. We've run the diagnostics twice, Susan. The equipment is glitching because of the solar flares. Solar flares don't produce focused energy patterns, she insisted. These readings are too precise, too regular. Write up your concerns in a report, Frost said, clearly not convinced. I'll forward it to command. Susan knew her report would likely be ignored. With no visual confirmation and only strange energy readings to go on, her concerns would be dismissed as equipment malfunction. Meanwhile, deep in the Pacific Ocean, the submarine USS Vigilant patrolled silently beneath the waves. Lieutenant Frank Miller, the sonar operator, adjusted his headphones as he detected an unusual sound pattern. Captain, I'm picking up something strange. he reported. It's not matching any known submarine or marine life acoustic signature. Captain Greg Daniels moved to the sonar station. Could be a new Chinese or Russian vessel. No, sir, it's... Frank hesitated, not sure how to describe what he was hearing. It's like nothing in our database. The pattern keeps changing, almost like it's adapting to avoid classification. On the Shadow Claw, Captain Murrock was growing impatient. The observation phase was taking longer than planned. We need direct specimens, he decided. Select a small group of humans for examination. Science Officer Trelna pointed to a blinking dot on the map. There's a research vessel in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Small crew, isolated location. Perfect for our needs. Murrock nodded. Prepare the extraction team. I want 3 humans brought aboard for study. The Draxian scout ship moved from its lunar hiding place, approaching Earth under cover of night. As they neared the planet's atmosphere, something unexpected happened. Captain, our sensors are detecting an energy fluctuation, reported the navigation officer, his voice tinged with concern. Murrock leaned forward. Source? Unknown. It's causing interference with our cloaking system. Before Murrock could respond, a power surge ran through the ship, briefly disrupting their systems. The disruption lasted only seconds, but its effects spread across the western United States on in homes and businesses across California, Oregon, and Washington. Electronic devices flickered. Power grids experienced momentary drops. Military bases reported brief communication blackouts. And in her Alaskan listening post, Lieutenant Susan Warren's equipment lit up like a Christmas tree. Major Frost, she shouted, you need to see this. This time, even the skeptical major couldn't dismiss the readings. He immediately contacted higher command. The Shadow Claw quickly recovered from the malfunction and continued toward its target. The research vessel RV Horizon floated peacefully on the Atlantic waters. Its crew of 12 scientists and support staff were in the middle of a month-long ocean study. Dr. Ryan Cooper was examining plankton samples when the ship suddenly rocked violently. What was that? He asked, steadying himself against the lab table. Linda Phillips, the communications specialist, rushed into the lab. Something's happening on deck. All systems are going haywire. They hurried upstairs to find chaos. A blinding light engulfed the ship, and strange figures moved through. The glow. Steve Bennett, the security officer, was trying to reach the weapons locker when he saw Ryan and Linda. Get back below, he shouted, but it was too late. 3 Draxian soldiers appeared, their scaled forms towering over the humans. Before anyone could react, they seized Ryan, Linda, and Steve. Release me. Ryan struggled against the iron grip of his captor. The Draxians ignored his protests. One of them pressed a device against each human's neck, injecting a sedative that quickly rendered them unconscious. As the aliens prepared to return to their ship with their prisoners, Steve regained consciousness just long enough to reach for the emergency beacon on his belt. His fingers pressed the activation button before darkness claimed him again. The Shadow Claw departed Earth's atmosphere with its 3 human captives, unaware that the emergency beacon was broadcasting a distress signal with unusual characteristics. Within hours, military installations across Earth detected the signal. Unlike standard maritime distress calls, this one contained data packets describing the abduction and including fragmented sensor readings of the alien vessel. In the Pentagon, generals gathered in a secure room. In Moscow, Russian military leaders convened an emergency meeting. In Beijing, top officials reviewed the data with growing concern. The response was not what the Draxians expected. Instead of panic or confusion, Earth's major powers initiated a coordinated protocol that had been established decades earlier. Planetary Defense Condition 2, announced General Patricia Gonzalez in the White House Situation Room. This is not a drill. Around the world, specialized units activated. Hidden facilities powered up systems that had been waiting years for this moment. On the Shadow Claw, the 3 captured humans were placed in separate holding cells. Captain Murrock observed them through monitoring screens. Begin the examinations, he ordered. I want to know everything about their biology, psychology, and technological knowledge. As the Draxians moved deeper into the solar system, heading to a safe distance to conduct their studies, they received a shocking alert. Captain, multiple objects have locked onto our position. Murak rushed to the command center. Impossible. Their sensors can't detect us through our cloaking field. These aren't Earth sensors, the officer replied, voice shaking. These are coming from satellites we didn't detect before. They were dormant until now. On the main screen, dozens of previously invisible objects lit up around Earth and throughout the solar system. Whatever these devices were, they had been waiting silently for years, perhaps centuries, and now they were awake. Captain Murak stared at the display in disbelief. The previously empty space around Earth now showed dozens of active defense satellites. They had been invisible to Draxian scans until now. How is this possible? He demanded. Scan them immediately. Science. Officer Trelna worked quickly at her station. Captain, these devices appear to be dormant defense platforms. They activated when we took the humans. Are they targeting us? Yes, but they haven't fired. They're tracking us. Murak paced the command center. This development made no sense. According to all intelligence, Earth had no such technology. Their most advanced satellites were primitive communication and observation tools. We need to report this to Supreme Commander Vexelar, he decided. Prepare a transmission. Meanwhile, in the holding cells, the 3 captured humans were regaining consciousness. Dr. Ryan Cooper woke first, his scientist's mind immediately taking in details of his surroundings. The cell walls were smooth and slightly curved, made of a material he didn't recognize. A transparent barrier served as a door. Ryan stood up carefully and approached the barrier. He could see across the corridor into another cell, where Linda, Phillips was still unconscious. To his right, Steve Bennett was awake and already testing the strength of his cell walls. Steve, Ryan called quietly. Can you hear me? Steve nodded. They took my weapons, but they missed the emergency beacon. I activated it before they knocked me out. Good thinking, Ryan said. Any idea who they are? Not human, that's for sure. Did you see their skin? Like reptiles, but walking upright. Linda stirred in her cell and sat up slowly. What happened? Where are we? Before either man could answer, 2 Draxian guards appeared. They were tall, nearly 7 feet, with scaled skin and 4 arms. Their yellow eyes studied the humans with cold curiosity. One guard pressed a control, and the barriers to all 3 cells disappeared. Follow, he commanded in heavily accented English. No resistance. The humans exchanged glances but complied. They were led through corridors of the alien ship, memorizing the layout as they went. Ryan noted that the ship seemed to be built for efficiency rather than comfort, with minimal decoration and stark lighting. They arrived at a laboratory where Science Officer Trelna waited. Begin examinations, she ordered the medical staff. Despite their fear, the humans proved more observant and adaptable than the Draxians anticipated. While being examined, Ryan memorized the alien medical equipment. Linda listened carefully to the Draxian language to identify patterns, and Steve studied their weapons and door mechanisms. Back on Earth, a global response was underway. At the United Nations, a special session convened with unusual efficiency. There was no debate about action. Instead, delegates authorized the implementation of Protocol Omega, a defense plan established decades earlier. General Patricia Gonzalez led the crisis team from a bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Military. Officers from Russia, China, India, and the European Union joined her, working with unprecedented cooperation. The beacon from the RV horizon provided partial data on the alien vessel, reported Colonel Andrew West. It matches nothing in our databases. What about the dormant defense system? Asked General Gonzalez. Is it fully operational? A scientist named Dr. Karen Diaz responded. The system is active but in autonomous mode. We still don't have full control access. Then who does? Demanded the Russian general. No one had an answer. In orbit around Earth, old satellites that had been thought defunct suddenly powered up. Defense platforms hidden on the far side of the moon activated. Across the planet, hidden installations hummed with energy as systems designed by unknown hands awakened. On the Shadow Claw, Captain Murrock received disturbing news. The humans have launched missiles toward our position, reported the tactical officer. Murrock almost laughed. Primitive, chemical rockets. They pose no threat, evade them easily. The ship maneuvered gracefully, leaving the Earth missiles far behind. This confirmed Murrock's belief in Earth's technological inferiority, but it was another critical miscalculation. The missiles weren't meant to hit the ship. When they reached their programmed coordinates, they exploded into clouds of advanced sensor swarms. Thousands of tiny devices spread through space, mapping the Draxian vessel's energy signature and defensive capabilities. Earth was gathering intelligence. In the laboratory, the humans had been returned to their cells after examination. Steve noticed the guards were distracted by alerts sounding throughout the ship. "Something's happening," he whispered to the others. "This might be our chance." Linda nodded. "I've been studying their language. The words for emergency and defense keep coming up. I think I can open these cell barriers," Ryan said. "During the examination, I saw how their control panels work. It's based on biometric access, but there's a manual override for emergencies." When the next guard passed, Steve feigned illness, collapsing dramatically in his cell. The guard approached, and Ryan called out as if seeking help. As the guard checked both cells, Linda reached through the slight gap at the bottom of her barrier and touched the emergency panel she had spotted earlier. All three barriers disappeared at once. Steve tackled the surprised guard while Ryan grabbed the alien's weapon. They had no idea how to use it, but the guard didn't know that. "Which way to their communications?" Ryan asked. "Left corridor," Linda said confidently. "I heard them mention it several times." The three humans moved quickly through the ship, using what they had learned during their brief captivity. They reached the communications center and barricaded the door. "I need time," Linda said, studying the alien technology. "Keep watch." Steve stood guard while Ryan examined the ship schematics displayed on a nearby screen. "There," he pointed. "That looks like the engine cooling system." Working together, they managed to sabotage the communications array and damage the engine cooling system before alarms blared throughout the ship. Armed Draxians converged on their position. "We've done what we can," Steve said. "They're coming." The humans were quickly recaptured, but their brief act of resistance had important consequences. The Shadow Claw's communication with the main fleet was disrupted, and the engine damage forced them to reduce speed. Captain Murrock stared at his prisoners with new respect and growing concern. "These humans are more resourceful than our intelligence suggested." He turned to his first officer. "We need to accelerate our timetable. Send a priority signal to Commander Vexillar. Tell him to begin the invasion immediately." The damaged Draxian scout ship limped toward the rendezvous point at the edge of the solar system, unaware that Earth's response was just beginning. Behind them, the mysterious defense platforms continued to track their every move, gathering data and waiting for the moment to strike. On Earth, General Gonzalez received a communication from a source she had never expected to hear from. The message came from a secure facility in Antarctica, one that officially didn't exist. "This is Colonel William Harris, Solar Defense Initiative," said the weathered face on the screen. "We've been preparing for this day for 60 years. It's time to activate the Guardians." The Draxian invasion fleet approached the outer edge of the Sol system. 12 massive warships, each carrying thousands of soldiers and enough firepower to level cities, moved in perfect formation. At their center was the flagship Dominance, where Supreme Commander Vexillar watched the holographic display with satisfaction. "We've received the scout ship's report," his aide informed him. "Captain Murrock reports unexpected defense satellites around Earth, but confirms the planet itself has no significant space weapons or shield technology." Vexillar nodded. "The satellites are concerning but not alarming. They're likely automated. Relics from some previous civilization's survey mission. The report also mentions the humans were more troublesome than expected. They damaged the Shadow Claw's communications and engines before being recaptured." This gave Vexillar pause. "Resourceful primitives. But resourcefulness alone won't save them from our fleet." As the Draxian ships passed Neptune's orbit, They detected no planetary defenses or space-based weapons platforms. Their confidence grew with each passing hour, until multiple systems began activating throughout the solar system. On Mars, ancient structures buried beneath the red sand powered up. On the Moon, weapon installations hidden in craters hummed to life. A network of satellites with energy signatures far beyond Earth's known technology appeared as if from nowhere. "Commander," called the sensor officer on the Dominance, "we're detecting multiple energy signatures activating throughout the system." Vexillar rushed to the command center. "Source?" "Unknown, sir. They weren't there minutes ago." The tactical display showed dozens, then hundreds of objects lighting up across the solar system. Some appeared to be defense platforms, others seemed to be automated ships. All were powering up weapon systems. "Impossible," Vexillar muttered. "Our intelligence said nothing about this." The communications officer called out, "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from Earth." "Put it through," Vexillar ordered. The main screen displayed the image of a human male. He was older, with gray hair and weathered skin. He wore a simple uniform with no visible rank or insignia. "Attention alien vessel," the man said calmly. "This is Colonel William Harris of the Solar Defense Initiative. You have entered protected space. Turn back now. This is your only warning." Vexillar almost laughed. "This human thinks he can threaten the Draxian hegemony? Ignore this message. Continue the approach." As the fleet passed Saturn's orbit, the first wave of Earth's defense activated. Quantum entanglement disruptors, technology far beyond what humans should possess, fired from hidden platforms on Saturn's moons. 3 Draxian ships immediately lost propulsion, drifting helplessly. "What happened?" Vexillar demanded. "Unknown." "Weapon, sir," replied the tactical officer, his voice shaking. "It's disabled the quantum drive on the affected ships." Vexillar's confidence wavered for the first time. "Launch fighters. Capture one of those defense platforms. I want to know what we're facing." Draxian fighter craft swarmed from the fleet, targeting the nearest defense satellite. After a brief exchange of fire, they managed to capture it intact and bring it aboard the flagship for analysis. Science Officer Rekval led the examination team. His findings shocked everyone on the command deck. "Commander," he reported, "this technology is not human in origin." "What?" "The components show manufacturing techniques from at least 6 different advanced civilizations. Some parts use metallurgy, consistent with the Zeltari. Others show circuitry resembling Vorax design. The power source appears to be of Medusan origin." Vexillar stared at the disassembled satellite on the laboratory table. "That's impossible. The Medusans vanished from galactic affairs 3 centuries ago." "Yes, sir. And several other components use technology from civilizations that disappeared, even earlier." Meanwhile, on the damaged scout ship Shadowclaw, Captain Murak finally gained access to the sealed historical records about Earth. His security override had taken days to process, but now the classified files were opening on his screen. What he read made his blood run cold. Earth wasn't undefended. It was quarantined. The records described previous civilizations that had attempted invasion of Earth. All had been completely annihilated, not by humans, but by something far worse that humans inadvertently released when threatened beyond a certain threshold. The historical records referred to Earth as the prison world, and humans as the unwitting wardens. Murak read about the ancient precursor race that had discovered something terrible on Earth, something they couldn't destroy, but could contain. They had built the Guardian network and then vanished, leaving humans to evolve naturally on a world that served as a prison for something the galaxy feared. He had to warn Commander Vexillar before it was too late. Back on Earth, General Gonzalez sat across from Colonel Harris in a secret facility beneath the Antarctic ice. "You're telling me these defense systems aren't ours?" she asked, stunned by his revelations. Harris nodded. "Not originally. Humanity has been reverse engineering this technology since the 1940s. Every major technological leap in the past 80 years, semiconductors, fiber optics, quantum computing, came from studying crashed Guardian units." "Guardian units?" "That's what we call them. Automated defense systems created by a civilization that existed long before humans evolved. They activate when Earth is threatened. But why? Gonzalez asked. Why would ancient aliens protect Earth? Harris's expression darkened. They're not protecting us, General. They're containing something. We're just the caretakers. In space, the Draxian fleet pushed forward despite growing losses. They had come too far to retreat. As they approached Earth's moon, they detected massive energy signatures activating beneath the lunar surface. What now? Vexillar demanded. Energy. Readings off the scale, Commander, reported the sensor officer. Something's waking up inside the moon. Similar readings appeared in Earth's oceans and beneath the Antarctic ice. These weren't human weapons. They were ancient guardians, artificial sentinels created by the precursor race. In desperation, Captain Murak transmitted the historical records directly to Earth, trying to warn humans not to fully activate the Guardian network. The message reached General Gonzalez, who stared at the data in horror. Colonel Harris, she said, turning to the old soldier. According to this, the Guardians aren't just defending Earth. They're preventing something from escaping Earth. Harris nodded grimly. That's classified information, General. Need to know only. I think I need to know now. What exactly are we sitting on? Before Harris could answer, alarms blared throughout the facility. On screens around the room, they watched as the Draxian fleet engaged with the Guardian network. In orbit around the moon, energy weapons unlike anything humans had ever built tore through Draxian shields. The Guardian vessels moved with impossible speed, anticipating and countering every Draxian tactic. They're demonstrating technology centuries beyond current galactic standards, Harris observed calmly. Just as they did the last time someone tried to invade. The last time? Gonzalez asked. Roswell, 1947. It wasn't one ship that crashed. It was the remains of an entire invasion fleet. That's when we first learned about the Guardians. On the Dominance, Commander Vexillar watched in horror as his mighty fleet was decimated by forces he couldn't comprehend. In a final desperate act, he ordered his flagship to target Earth directly. If we can't have this world, no one will, he snarled. Charge the main weapon. Target their largest population center. The Dominance's primary weapon powered up, a beam capable of splitting continents, but it never reached Earth's atmosphere. Something vast and ancient was rising from the Pacific Ocean floor. The Pacific Ocean bulged upward as if a mountain was rising from its depths. Water cascaded off a massive form that broke the surface. It wasn't a natural formation. It moved with purpose. On the Draxian flagship Dominance, alarms blared as sensors detected the enormous object. What is that? Commander Vexillar demanded, his voice barely audible over the chaos on the bridge. No one answered. The tactical display showed a structure larger than any spacecraft ever recorded in Draxian history. It was semi-organic, a blend of technology and living tissue that defied categorization. The Dominance's main weapon fired, the beam of destructive energy racing toward Earth. The massive entity from the ocean intercepted it effortlessly, absorbing the blast without visible damage. Then it responded. A pulse of energy swept outward from the oceanic Guardian, washing over the remaining Draxian ships. It wasn't a conventional weapon. It carried no heat or kinetic force. Instead, it seemed to rewrite the laws of physics in its path. Draxian technology failed instantly. Weapons, engines, life support, all stopped functioning. The mighty invasion fleet drifted helplessly in space. In the Antarctic facility, General Gonzalez and Colonel Harris watched the events unfold on their monitors. What did it do to them? Gonzalez asked. Harris studied the readings. It's altering the quantum state of their technology. Fascinating. We've theorized this was possible but never seen it demonstrated. Is it going to destroy them? No, it's neutralizing them. The Guardians never destroy unless absolutely necessary. Too risky. Risky? How? Harris sighed heavily. Because destruction creates energy signatures that might wake it. You still haven't told me what it is, Gonzalez pressed. The old colonel looked at her with weary eyes. We don't know exactly. The records we've pieced together from Guardian technology suggest it's a sentient entity. Something ancient. Something that feeds on conflict and destruction. Like a parasite? More like a predator. The precursors discovered it here, already contained somehow in Earth's core. They built the Guardian network to reinforce that containment and prevent it from escaping. And humans? Where do we fit in? That's the strangest part. According to the records, humans weren't supposed to evolve here at all. We're an accident, a species that developed on the prison world. But our brainwave patterns have a unique effect on the containment system. We help keep it stable just by existing. On the crippled Draxian flagship, Commander Vexlar received an incoming transmission. The face of Captain Murrock appeared on the screen. "Commander," Murrock said urgently, "you must order all ships to stand down immediately. No further aggression." "Captain, what is the meaning of this?" "I've accessed the sealed records about Earth. This planet is not what we thought. It's a prison containing something that threatens the entire galaxy." "Nonsense," Vexlar snarled. "These are just elaborate defenses." "No, Commander. The defenses aren't to keep us out. They're to keep something in. And when threatened beyond a certain threshold, humans emit specific brainwave patterns that fully activate the Guardians, and potentially whatever they're designed to contain." Before Vexlar could respond, another communication came through. It was Colonel Harris from Earth. "Attention Draxian vessels. Your ships have been neutralized. Your technology will remain disabled until you leave this solar system. Any further hostile action will result in your complete destruction." Vexlar, his pride wounded but his sense of survival intact, realized he had no choice. "We surrender." In orbit around Earth, the Guardian network continued to monitor the disabled Draxian fleet. The massive entity from the Pacific slowly submerged again, disappearing beneath the waves. 3 days later, Captain Murrock and the crew of the Shadowclaw were brought to Earth under guard. They were the first Draxians to set foot on the planet's surface. In a secure conference room at United Nations headquarters, Murrock shared what he had discovered in the classified records. "The entity contained within your planet is beyond ancient," he explained to the assembled human leaders. "It existed before most galactic civilizations evolved. The precursor race that built the Guardian network disappeared shortly after completing it." "What exactly is this entity?" asked the Secretary General. "The records are incomplete. We know it feeds on destruction and conflict. We know it can manipulate energy and matter. And we know that if it ever escaped, it could consume entire star systems." General Gonzalez, who had flown in from Antarctica, spoke up. "And you're saying humans evolved here by accident?" "Yes, but not without purpose. Your brainwave patterns have a stabilizing effect on the containment field. You are, in a sense, living components of the prison. That's why no one attacks Earth," Colonel Harris added. "Previous attempts triggered the Guardian response and nearly released the entity. The survivors spread warnings throughout the galaxy. Warnings that were classified in our archives," Murrock admitted with shame. "Information that was hidden from our military leaders." 2 weeks later, Supreme Commander Vexlar faced justice for his failed invasion. The Hegemony Council, now aware of Earth's true nature, stripped him of rank and sentenced him to exile. The remaining Draxian ships were allowed to return home carrying a message. Earth was now under formal galactic protection. A delegation of human representatives would accompany them to establish diplomatic relations with the wider galactic community. On his last day on Earth, Captain Murrock stood beside Colonel Harris, watching the sunset over the Pacific Ocean, where the massive Guardian had emerged. "Your people have lived on the edge of an abyss without knowing it," Murrock said. "How do you think they will handle this knowledge?" Harris shrugged. "Some will panic, others will adapt. Humans are good at adapting." "And your role in all this?" "The Solar Defense Initiative. We've been piecing together the truth since the 1940s when the last attempted invasion was stopped. Each generation of Guardians that activated taught us more about our true place in the cosmos." "Which is?" Harris smiled. "Gatekeepers. the unwitting inheritors of the most important responsibility in the galaxy. Do you think the entity can ever be destroyed? Morok asked. No. That's why the precursors contained it instead of trying to kill it. Destruction just makes it stronger. Containment is the only option. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Harris added, for centuries, other civilizations thought Earth was defenseless. Now they know the truth. We're not undefended. We're quarantined. And attacking us is the last mistake anyone would ever make. In the depths of Earth's core, something ancient stirred briefly before returning to its slumber. The human population above, now 7 billion strong, continued their lives, their collective consciousness unwittingly reinforcing the prison that protected the entire galaxy. And in distant star systems, the message spread quickly. Earth may appear defenseless, but it guards something far more dangerous than any weapon. It is the prison world, and humans are its wardens, the final line of defense against a threat beyond imagination.